Call to order the regular meeting of the Rio Dell City Council. Roll call, please.
Mayor Garnes,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Woodall,
Here.
Councilmember Johnson,
Here.
Councilmember Strand,
Here.
Councilmember Wilson,
Here.
City Manager Knott,
Here.
Chief of Police Connor,
Here.
Finance Director Dillingham,
Here.
Community Development Director Caldwell. Are you there, Kevin? Water Roadway Superintendent Jensen,
Here.
Wastewater Superintendent Taylor,
Here.
and City Clerk Dunham is present. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now is the time for public presentations. This is the time for persons who wish to address the council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the council has jurisdiction. As such, a dialogue with the council or staff is not intended. Items requiring council action not listed on this agenda may be placed on the next regular agenda for consideration if the council directs, unless a finding is made by at least 2/3 of the council that the item came up after the agenda was posted and is of an urgency nature requiring immediate action. Please limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Are there any public comments?
I do have one public comment,
Would you please?
and I can read it now. Okay.
Please do. Thank you.
Dear City Council members, my name is Virginia. First, I want to say that I love our little town. It's looking so beautiful. Love the flowers and the flags. Things really started to get cleaned up. I felt safe walking through town alone. I've been working at DJ's helping out. My problem is with the homeless. They panhandle for my customers. I intervene when I catch them. Now my customers are complaining that they leave trash all over the grassy area. They sleep under the tree and I run them off when I can. I also clean up the trash and have had to clean up human feces from the parking lot. They left behind toilet paper. We get busy sometimes, so I don't always catch them, but I find their messes. Please, we have to do something. If I was a tourist, I would not stop. I don't want our town to go backwards. Please, please, something must be done. Signed, Virginia Sippard.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And thank you, Virginia, for submitting your public comment. Are there any other public comments?
No, Mayor Garnes.
Thank you. Hearing none, we will move on to the consent calendar. Is there anyone on the council who would like to remove anything from the consent calendar, an item from the consent calendar?
I would like to remove item 3.
Okey-dokey. Any other item? Is there a motion? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept items 1 and 2 of the consent calendar and 4 of the consent calendar?
So moved by Johnson.
Second, Woodall.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Woodall,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Strand,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Garnes.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Councilmember Wilson, item number 3.
Yeah, my question is, I see that we're carrying over the $4,800 for the server. Is that come directly? Does that come out of the 2019-20 budget and go into the 2021 then?
This is Cheryl. The 4,800 is for the compensation study.
Yes.
And that does get carry forward from the previous budget into the current budget.
That's just a that's just a wash of money, right?
Correct. It is just a wash of money.
And then the other comment here was, it said there was some other stuff that was going to be carried over. I assume part of the streets, because that wasn't completed in the former budget, but it's completed in the next year's budget. Is that just a direct carryover?
Well, how about if I'll just give a brief explanation. So this is 2 adjustments to the capital projects budget in the current year. One of them is $10,250 for a new server for the police department that was not known and was not anticipated to break, that has to be replaced. And basically there's sufficient savings in the police department budget in last fiscal year. In other words, they came in under budget, and basically what I'm saying is we're not taking any additional money out of fund balance. The fund balance will be higher than what I originally anticipated now that I've seen how the year is ending and there's been salary savings in the police department. So it's not truly a carry forward, it's savings that will be rolled into fund balance and reapplied into the current year to purchase the server. Then the other item is $4,800, which is totally a carry forward. We went under contract and the project didn't get completed by June 30th. So there's one final payment that needs to be made. So those funds were not spent last year and they will be rebudgeted in the current year. And it will also have no impact on the total overall general fund balance.
Thank you. And that was my understanding. Will it be at a later time that will you be able to give us an estimate of what didn't get spent for the last budget that's going to increase essentially our beginning general fund or overall budget of the city from what wasn't spent to what? You understand what I'm
Yes,
asking?
that will be the year-end report. So the way that so July and August revenues that come in July and August can be applied back to the previous fiscal year, as well as expenses that are for the previous fiscal year that, well, you don't need this whole long story, but as soon as we get the fiscal year closed, I will bring you a report. But I did look at the police budget, and as of this morning, it was about $100,000 less than what was budgeted last year, but there's still some accruals and some outstanding items. But I anticipate that just in the police department, there'll probably be about
Councilmember Wilson, are you good or?
Yeah, I'm good. I thought Cheryl had some more to say, but
Oh,
no, I'm
sorry,
good.
I'm done.
Okay, I'm good. That's my question.
Perfect. So then would you care to make a motion, please, to accept item 3?
I make a motion, we accept item 3.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second by Johnson.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Woodall,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Strand,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Garnes.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. We're moving on to staff reports. City manager, please.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. Staff reports are on page 24 of your packet. With that, I will just give you a quick couple updates here. The public works staff did meet with Tesla down at the corporation yard to discuss locations for the power backup facilities. We've also been working with our health plan administrator to discuss the upcoming renewal in February and working on the slurry seal and rollout of the slurry seal project. With that, I'll turn it over to the council to see if there's any questions of staff on the written report.
Mayor Pro Tem Woodall, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have about three. We were going to contract for a person to work on the gateway, and I thought you had mentioned that you had sent the contract to our attorney to look at. Do we know where that stands?
Yeah, we're still behind on that one because there's a lot of, in working with our insurance, there's a lot of responsibilities that the group would need to undertake in order to do that safely and under the umbrella of the protecting the city.
Okay. By any chance, did you and Deborah meet with the Danco people yet? They had said last time they would invite you and Deborah to meet with them at their meetings, their weekly meetings.
Correct. I have not received an invitation at this point.
Nor have I, and I've actually looked repeatedly.
Okay. And I may have missed it. Have we made an advertisement for the planning commission opening, or are we just going to go with 5 people and no backup?
I could respond to that if you'd like. I did post that vacancy immediately when it occurred, but no one has applied.
Okay. And the last question is any update on the CSO position?
Yeah, we held interviews last week, and it's under review with staff.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Strawn? Do you have any questions?
I do. I have just a question for Chief regarding the bird seed that's by E&J Liquors there. Getting a lot of complaints about that being on the sidewalk. Is there anything being done about that, or can we do anything about that?
This is the first that I've heard that people are considering it a problem. There are numerous locations in Rio Dell where people scatter birdseed. I'm not sure what we can do other than ask people not to do it, but I'll research that.
That would be great. I guess it's on the sidewalk and people walking, it slips. It's slippery there because it's so thick. There's so much of it.
I'll see if I can figure out who's placing it and ask them to choose a better location.
Thank you.
Is that all? I don't want to cut you off.
Yes, thank you. I'm done.
Councilmember Johnson?
No questions, Mayor Garnes, but just a comment. I think Randy and Kyle need to be patted on the back. The city streets in Rio Dell have not looked this nice, and I think my 42 years of living here, it really is fine-looking streets, and you know, it makes a person want to live here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Wilson?
Just one of the things when I saw for the city clerk, but it can be development director, but I don't think he's here. It said that there's a roof over a storage container. Are the other storage containers that we, the planning commission and council made the ruling on where they could be or couldn't be, have those been removed that weren't supposed to be, that didn't meet the criteria to be where they're supposed to be? Has anything happened with that?
Yeah, I believe that most of them have been. We do have 1 or 2 that haven't complied with all the requirements of covering them and whatnot. So Kevin sends reminders out to them periodically, though. He sends reminders. He's kind of edging them along to do that. So.
Because there's also one down
this
there.
was one of them.
There's one down there by, I guess if you turn off on, is it birch or cedar? It's on a lot. It looks like it's a storage container, sort of a trailer sitting there on the facing Wildwood. Does that fall under a storage container criteria?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that one.
It's right, when you drive down Main Street, just look there by where you're gonna, there's a lot there with, I think with a fence, if I'm looking, you got the street right by Cedar. It's kind of like a big,
Oh.
like a big trailer, like.
The old,
Am I looking at the right, do I have the right address?
it's where the
Right in
doctor's
front of
office used to
106
be.
Cedar, yeah. Mhm.
Am I talking about the right address, Julie?
Yes.
Yeah, the Dr. Muncheimer's office used to be there.
Muncheimer, yeah. 106 Cedar is right behind there. It used to be 425 Wildwood.
Okay, does that fall under the category of the storage container? Because it looks like it's kind of meant to stay there.
I don't know. We'd have to check that one out.
All right, that's just a comment. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you. And I have no questions. Are there any questions from the public regarding any public comment? Any questions that have come in? City clerk, or I'm not sure. Can Rosa hear me, Kyle?
Okay, she said there's no hands. She's having trouble with her phone, and I didn't
Okay.
receive any public comment either. We're good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Then we will move on to special presentations. Page 28, presentation by Caltrans ADA project for Eagle Prairie Bridge. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Gorns, members of the council. Bear with us as we try to make sure that our guest is on the line, Christina Walker, and that we transfer over the ability to do this share screen with Christina. So this is a relatively straightforward project, ADA work that the council is very familiar with at this point, related to the Eagle Prairie Bridge, which is a asset and responsibility of Caltrans here in town. So they're doing similar work to what the council has been doing to keep the library open here in Rio Dell. And so I'm going to see if Kristen or Christina, excuse me, Christina, sorry.
That's okay.
Christina, can you hear me?
I can, and I actually have two screens. There's one other screen, and I was trying to share my other screen, but it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So if there's a way the host could make that so that I can share my screen, I would appreciate if that's possible.
All right, give us 1 second. So Rosa,
Okay.
do you see the other Christina?
Yes, she's working on it.
Oh, it works. So
Okay, there you go.
I just need to pick this one. Share. So, okay. So hopefully, can you guys see that? Although it's sharing both my phone and, okay. Are you guys able to see the first page of the slide?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let me introduce myself and backing up just a little bit. My name is Christina Walker, and I work for Caltrans. I've worked there for almost 20 years. I work in a very small department. It's called Minor Bs, and we work on projects under $330,000. I'm the project manager of this project. However, a lot of the details with this project are actually with the designer, who unfortunately had a scheduling conflict, Kirsten Thuressen, and she wasn't able to make the meeting. So she asked that I come and present some information. So basically, I'm here to talk to you tonight about the upgrades that we're planning for the Eel River Bridge. The Eel River Bridge, there's 4 different connection pieces on the north and south side of the bridge. And our plan is to basically go in and upgrade each one of those 4 corners, the sidewalk at each of those 4 corners of the bridge. And the problem with the existing sidewalks is that they don't meet the current American Disabilities standards. So what we're going to do is remove the concrete from those locations and basically upgrade it. The other thing we're trying to incorporate into this project is some new fencing. Most of the work that we're planning at all 4 of the corners of the bridge is within Caltrans right away. However, there's a small amount, which I'll go into more detail, that's actually within the city limits of Rio Dell. And so I'd like to go into detail about what work's going to take place at each 4 corners of the bridge. And then I'd like to give you a little bit of information regarding our timeline, kind of what we're thinking and when we're going to go to construction, when the project's going to go out to bid, and then a little bit of information about the cost of the project. So starting with the south side of the bridge, the Scotia side of the bridge, on the westerly side of the bridge, there's a picture. The 2 purple lines should actually kind of line up. So the bottom plan view that we have of the sidewalk would actually be rotated approximately 90 degrees. And what we're looking at doing at this location is widening out the sidewalk to 10 feet, very close to where that arch comes in or the curved concrete piece comes in. We're going to widen it out to about 10 feet at that location and then tapered in at a 10-to-1 taper, transitioning back into the existing width of the sidewalk. So just to make that radius kind of easy, like if you had a stroller or if you were riding a bike, it would just make it a lot easier to get to traverse that. There's also some drainage at this location. There's an existing DI. It's within the corner over here, kind of where the leaf litter is. And we're going to raise that DI and then put in like a metal scupper type thing or a metal channel box, rectangular box, just to convey the water into the existing drainage system. And then at this location, we're looking at incorporating some new fencing. And we're hoping that fencing can be basically just deter any type of people from trespassing over that fence or any type of vandals, or there's some stuff that's happened underneath the bridge and we'd like to deter some of that activity. And potentially what we're looking at is a metal type fencing with vertical bars that is more aesthetically pleasing to than kind of what we have going on here. So moving to the southeast corner, so still on the Scotia side, we're looking at, once again, the schematic is going to turn 90 degrees to the left at this location. The purple bars should kind of line up with one another. And in the handout I submitted earlier, it was in the wrong location. Sorry about that. But we're going to remove this guardrail piece in here. And then we're basically going to extend and put in approximately 70 feet of new sidewalk at that location. And then it'll taper just back onto the existing asphalt. And we'll have the truncated domes, those little bumps that you go across. Those are down here and shown. So that'll just make a smoother transition straight onto that. And then once again, we're looking at upgrading the fencing at this location as well. So moving to the north side, the Rio Dell side of the bridge, starting with the west side, there's an existing house, which is really close that actually the sidewalk butts right up against it. And this area transitions, the bridge would be down in this location. The purple line that I placed on the sidewalk here is approximately the right-of-way line that we have. What would be looking south of that line would be actually Caltrans right-of-way, and what would be looking north of that line would be within the city limits. And so the work that we're planning to take place towards the end, that's east, East Bridge Street. So we'd like to replace the sidewalk from this all the way down to the corner. We'd like to move the signpost right here, just back, and then place the truncated domes and bring this all up to standards. A new pull box is proposed in here. And then this whole sidewalk would kind of be redone and more even grade. There's some pavement differential. there, and it would tie into the existing bridge structure. And so there is the work that passed the purple line once again is within the city limits, of which we would need to get an encroachment permit to do that work through the city. So moving to the northeast corner of the bridge, the sidewalk, we're kind of starting at the transition of where the sidewalk turns and heads towards, I believe that's an apartment complex right there, shown in the photograph. And the work that here's the Caltrans Rio Dell right-of-way line. It's basically the top of curb is the property line. And so all the work that we're proposing, which is about 4 feet up the sidewalk, as well as removing some of this asphalt in here, that's all proposed within the city limits. The work that we're proposing is basically to redo most of the sidewalk and a drainage system at this location. And then there's some mailboxes that are proposed to be removed or relocated, excuse me, at that location as well. Which I thought the mailboxes were, not sure. Oh, the mailboxes are right here, actually. Sorry. You guys can probably see them. I can't because I can see you guys where the mailboxes are. So, that's the work that we're planning at all the locations. As far as the schedule we're looking at, right now, we are looking at potentially 35 working days, but the actual working days that we think the contractor will be on site is closer to 3 weeks. The project's almost ready. We wanted to give you guys the opportunity to review the plan sets and go over it. And if you guys had any feedback as well, anything that you would like to see incorporated into the project or anything that you would like us to think about, we'd like to get any input prior to submitting the project plans. But right now the project plans are, they've already been internally reviewed and they're pretty much ready to be submitted to get a contract ready to go out to bid. We're expecting to have a contractor on board probably within the next 2.5 months. And basically it's going to be, work will be dependent on working days and weather. The working days will be dependent on weather. So we would expect to have a contract completed by the end of summer at the latest. And there's one way, the way our traffic management plan was written is that they are allowed to have one-way reversing traffic control. So they will they're not allowed to have full closures. It will be under traffic control, 1 lane at a time with 5-minute delays is what's been written in the traffic management plan. And we have an estimated construction cost of approximately $300,000. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina.
Definitely.
Thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Council, are there any questions? Council Member Wilson?
No.
Okay. Council Member Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor Garnes. If we could look at location number number two. There's been Caltrans has put in, a 6-foot chain link fence, and it's been vandalized.
Right here.
Extensively. Is Caltrans going to be doing any fence work at any of the locations?
Yes, we do hope to be, we hope to incorporate fencing within the project. We're actually putting the project out to bid with fencing in it. And for any reason, if it comes back where all our bids are too high, that would be the first item that we would be removed, because it is really close to the top of our limit of which we're allowed to put a contract out to bid for. We can't go over the 333,000. So we are putting the project out to bid with new fencing. And one of the Kirsten had said something about doing white fencing. I don't know if you're familiar at all of the fencing that's around the existing Caltrans office and maintenance facility on Wabash Street. But she was looking at doing something similar to that. It's vertical bars, and at the very top, they actually have like an arch to the top of them so that people can't really climb over them, and it has kind of a pinched arch at the top. The one at the district office is black in color. I don't know if that's something, so, I mean, I see a lot of white in the photos that you get in the bridge, the existing bridge rails, but anyways, so she was thinking there's the fencing similar to, there's another location where the fencing is also placed, and it was recently placed by Caltrans underneath one of the Samoa bridges, the same road that the Adorney Center is on, and it's below the library, but we kind of put it there to block off some of the access underneath the bridge. So she's looking at placing similar fencing to that, which is very aesthetically pleasing and to my eye. I can get a photo of it and send it to the council, if that's something that would be helpful.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. Do you have any?
Thank you. That was it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Strawn?
No, it looks great. I have seen that fence that you're talking about, and yeah, that seems like it would really be sufficient. I do have, so the only thing you're asking from the city is encroachment permits. We're not, you will take the fencing all the way down, or I guess I had just had some questions on our side, on the Rio Dell side.
Yeah, so Kirsten had mentioned that some fencing was placed recently, but it's already been cut on the Rio Dell side. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
So that fencing, we'd like to pull out and replace that existing fencing with this other type of fencing, which would probably take like 10 hacksaw blades or something to get through. It would be, somebody would have to be a little bit more tenacious to actually make it through it. That was our plan, if that's permissible with you guys.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you, Christina.
No problem. You're welcome.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Woodall?
Thank you for letting us know that you're going to work on it. That's a plus. And my only other thought was that before they start work, and this may seem silly, being as there's going to be 5-minute delays, it'd be nice if we could let our citizens know, because I tell you in the morning, if they're coming across the bridge and they're running late and they want to stop and have coffee, 5 minutes would seem like a long time. It'd just be nice to let them know that there are going to be delays on the bridge. And that's all I have.
Yeah, we can definitely do some community outreach. That's not a problem. And typically, because it will be reversing traffic control, that would be a maximum timeline. So basically, we're not going to have a closure in one of the lanes at any point in time. So the flaggers will just be moving the stop signs back and forth.
Okay, thank you.
So as long as you didn't have and we're not allowed to work during any of the festivals like the Wildwood Days or something, but if you did have a long queue for some reason, that would be the only thing that would delay the opposite direction from going. So hopefully it would be, much shorter than that. But yeah, I can
thank you.
definitely make sure that community outreach is done. No problem. We can do that.
Thank you very much, Christina. Thank you, Julie. And I don't see anywhere on here where you were actually doing anything to the bridge, but the question was put to me, so I'm going to put it to you. The cornerstone will stay with the identifying year and all that. That'll be there when it's all said and done.
Yes, that's correct. We're actually not touching the structure itself or the stones. Just the concrete in front, the rounded concrete in front of that will actually be removed.
Awesome.
So
thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Definitely.
Thank you for coming and giving us a presentation. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you We appreciate that you're going to do a little bit, not community outreach. You're letting us know this so that we can do community outreach before the project begins. That's very much appreciated. Okay, now.
No problem. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you. So now we will move. Was there any public comment? I'm sorry. Hang on just a moment, Christina. Is there any public, any raised hands, any comment that came in?
No, Mayor, there's nothing.
Thank you. And thank you, Christina. Now we will move on to special call items, discussion on 2020 priority of street planning and implementation.
All right, thank you, Mayor
No.
Garnes, members of the council. This item is on page 37 of your packet. You'll see at the top of page 37 that there is a listing of priorities since 2017 with the council. Specifically, what we're talking about in this particular agenda item this evening is under 2020, the streets planning and implementation priorities of the council, and looking for some degree of additional clarification in terms of specifically the planning portion of the streets planning and implementation priority. So again, the streets work has been prioritized pretty consistently over the course of the past 4 years, and emerged for 2020 as the city's top, or city council's top priority to do additional work. So the only, and just for the council's information, really the only street surface planning document that the city has is a 2012 pavement management program produced through the Humboldt County Association of Governments and Nichols Consulting Engineers. That report was updated in 2016. The 2016 update assigned an aggregated pavement condition index for Rio Dell, and that condition index was 51, which was the lowest in the county. That may have changed since then, but not by much. The main arterial streets of the city are generally in good condition. And the city has floated past ballot measures to raise funds to address the specific road issues. However, those failed prior to 2016. The city was mostly dependent on grant funding to move basic street maintenance forward. However, that street surface grant money has all but dried up. And Nichols Consulting identified approximately $5.5 million in needed repairs for street surfaces in the city. Since the 2016 street work, the prioritization has been mostly on arterial or highly traveled streets, nearly failed streets, and the bus routes. The city was able to obtain a ATP grant project to redo the intersection of US 101 and Wildwood. But most of the other projects have all been primarily moved forward through the general fund. And most recently also, those projects have been moved forward with using general fund subsidies. So this year in this budget, we have about $150,000 in the queue for the construction season of 2021. There is no specific project in the queue. So what we're looking for really is guidance from the council in terms of where you want to go with the planning element of this, and would recommend, holding a workshop where we can discuss this more freely. We don't have to go into depth this evening, but a planning, a full-on planning effort could take a significant amount of time to do, and so we're just looking for some general guidance from the council. So, and one other point I'll just reiterate here is, the primary slurry sealing projects that we've just completed are generally part of a maintenance strategy, which again is what the Nichols Consulting report recommended that the city focus in on, a pavement maintenance program where we're trying to basically prevent the existing road infrastructure from deteriorating further. And so generally those are the projects that we've been involved in, or rehabilitations of the existing facilities that were in okay condition or near failing condition. However, we do know that there are several streets in town that are in the failed category and would need to be completely reconstructed, which is by far the most expensive process, involving engineering, involving long time scales to set up projects, to do them correctly. And ultimately they're extremely expensive. The project we did at the Triangle this summer was really a maintenance overlay. The base of the road was generally in okay condition, but that was a maintenance overlay. A reconstruction would be really getting the engineers out there, resetting lines and making sure that the drainage facilities work, and material underneath the pavement as well. So with that, and then ultimately, if all of that were to fail, the only other really course of action for the city would be to do gravel reversion, removing failed sections of asphalt and placing gravel in those locations, and then doing kind of an annual maintenance on the gravel, which would be significantly cheaper than the asphalt rehabilitation and asphalt road reconstruction. So with that, I also on your report on page 39 was kind of one of the visuals that came out of the Nichols report. Obviously, a lot has changed since the Nichols report, so I'm not sure how completely accurate this particular map is anymore. But these would be kind of the planning documents and that the council could look at. I didn't want to place the entire HCOG report in the agenda for this meeting just because it is pretty paper intensive, and I believe it's been presented to the council in the past. But the report, the 2016 update and the original 2012 are available on the HCOG website for the council. So with that, I will return to the council and try to answer any questions that you have. But again, my recommendation would be that we try to schedule a workshop or set up a workshop down the road to go over this. But this would be a good opportunity for the council also to discuss planning and what you would like to see in general in the workshop, and also just your idea of planning in general for the streets projects and what we should try to wrap into that.
Thank you, City Manager. For my part, I agree with that. We need to have a session where we can just talk about this at a little bit of length. Just off the top, I would say that we would need to have staff or someone look at the streets that are in very poor condition and rank those, because we know the ones that are good. We can see the ones that have been slurry sealed, but there are streets in Rio Dell that are just horrific. And so if we could have a ranking of the worst of the worst, or the hierarchy of the worst, I guess, that would, at a study session, that would give us a lot more information to base our future planning. And that's pretty much my comment. Councilmember Strawn?
Yeah, I agree with that. I just drove Ogle. Oh my goodness, that street needs help. I think that street's been in that condition since I was a kid and rode my bike down there. It really, I mean, if they could do exactly what they did over here on Eloa, that would make a huge difference on Ogle. And that street is bad. I'd really like to see that one done. It looks like we could maybe just start on that side of town and move to the right. But Bellevue's been done. A lot of these streets have been done on here. So, but Ogle is bad. If anybody wants to drive that and check it out, be prepared for some bumpies. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wilson?
Yeah, I agree with a study session. And some of the streets, we know Ogle and Riverside has got a good start. I'd like to see Bellevue finished up to at least the end of the avenue. I don't know about going up the hill on the out end of the city limits. That was kind of that's just a bad deal. But I think ultimately a study session would be great to hash this over rather than beat it up tonight, and at least get a plan. And we could probably aim for more than 1 year in the long range of what we want to do.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor Garnes. Yeah, certainly a study session would be very important, and two of the most important people to have there would be Derek and Randy. We need to know what's underneath the streets as far as water and sewer lines and storm drainage. There's no use paving a street and then having to come back 2 years later and dig it up to put in a storm drain or put in a brand new water line or something like that. Yeah, I'm totally for a study session, and I agree with the rankings, and if you really want to know what's a bad street, get on a bicycle and go for a ride. I've ridden almost every street in Rio Dell, and some of them are real butt pounders. I guess enough said. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Woodall?
I think we should have a study session too, and I'd like to see staff come up with some plans that we could take a look at. And even if we needed some consultants to help, I would be for that. I'd like to see a street done where we can get the most bang for our money. And Sue's right, Ogle is awful. I've walked it and it's hard to walk. But I'm in agreement with a study session.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? Have any public comments come in?
Currently, there are no hands.
Thank you. City Manager, is that sufficient or do you need more from us?
No, I think that's good. What we'll do is work with the council over email to identify an appropriate time. I don't know exactly when we'll be able to prepare and get a study session going, but we want to try to do it as soon as possible. So what we'll do is keep the council posted on some potential dates, and then just let staff know which dates work and which do not for the council. And then we'll try to gather everybody together to have a more in-depth conversation.
Thank you. So now we will move on to discussion on economic development, page 40, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. So this is similar to the previous agenda item, in that economic development is also one of the priorities of the council. Obviously, there's been a lot of work on economic development over the past few years. And at this point in time, I think in discussions with council members, members of the public, staff members, it seems like it's a good time also to have another study session and to kind of look at the next series of game plans for economic development, to make sure that we're reprioritizing it and looking at different angles of how to move certain items forward. Obviously, the council has been very focused, and staff has been very focused on trying to lift off our small fledgling cannabis industry, legal cannabis industry in Rio Dell. And that has been fruitful in terms of city revenues. And the city is generating additional tax revenue, and even to the point where the general fund is increasing during the period of COVID, or is projected to, with the assistance of cannabis tax receipts. So the question is, now that we're at the phase now where that is producing verifiable quantities into the city and producing gains for the general fund, and that's translating into projects throughout town and improved conditions. The question is really how do we take it to the next level, and how do we capitalize on recognizing the current economic situation in the county and in the region, and move the city forward. So in going back over, we kind of looked at some of the prior presentations, or just quick slides that were in the prior presented to some of the council members who are present today. And so this would have been prior to the December 2015 cannabis workshop. Starting on page 41 and 42 specifically, what we were looking at for Rio Dell was relatively high unemployment rates, and actually, in fact, at the time, the figures that we were able to obtain showed that Rio Dell consistently had the highest unemployment level in the county. And then, as we know, over the last year, the Rio Dell unemployment numbers really plummeted, and we're part of a newspaper article covering that topic about a year ago. Since then, I don't know exactly where we're at in terms of those numbers, but certainly we'd love to present them as soon as we look at them. We covered topics including, what really is economic development, the tools available to the city, and kind of a history of some of the city's past dependence on economic activity in the community, being a resource-based economy in this area, and then what types of action that the council was undertaking, what staff was undertaking, and where we wanted to go. And there were a lot of different ideas thrown around, but ultimately, since December of 2015 in the workshop, we have been focused in on the Humboldt Rio Dell Business Park, on moving cannabis developments forward. And we've been, successful in that endeavor. Certainly, we would love to have seen more of those developments move forward in the city, but we have actually a pretty good share. So we've done a pretty good job in terms of leveraging that new economic activity, legal economic activity, and it's generating revenue right now, today for the city that can be used towards streets and improving the economic condition of the community. I think one of the visuals that we had, and I'm going to try to pull it up, is just a very simple, hopefully everybody can see that and may even remember this bubble chart from a while ago. Does that show up on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. So we really, in the upper left, we talked about really the dependence on trying to obtain grants for the city, for public facilities, for economic development. We've ran into pretty significant challenges in terms of CDBG, both in terms of staff resources, and then really the classification of Rio Dell as a non-disadvantaged, and trying to overcome that. We talked about a branding effort. To a certain degree, the city's been pretty successful at this, I think largely thanks to the mayor, who's been very, very out and in front of the community, promoting and putting out a positive image of the community, of the broader community. and maybe challenging some of the preconceived notions about Rio Dell, and showing that we can actually be a leader in an issue like COVID, and that we can take a proactive stance and be a positive force and example for the rest of the community. So that's, an example of branding. Obviously, Eureka's undergone a recent branding effort, but also Rio Dell did a branding effort with some of the logos in city designs that have been out for 10 plus years. And so those are good designs, and they get out there in the community. But certainly we want to continue to do that. Attractive community through code enforcement, that was another goal towards economic development. That's always been a challenge, the perennial challenge, and hopefully with the council allocating additional financial resources and human resources to this problem, we're going to continue to make headway in this particular area, and hopefully even at a faster rate. Community building and events, that's something that one of the problems that we have is lacking a community center type facility. We've looked at some different options regarding that, but that's another area where some progress could be made. We also, at the bottom of the screen, we looked at existing city services and tried to make that connection between really the status of Rio Dell as a incorporated municipality in Humboldt County is really a good status to have, and that comes a lot of local control over things, but there also comes a lot of responsibility. There's responsibility for public safety, land use planning. There's expanded role for public works, but with that, you can also tailor the development in the community. You can provide higher level of public safety services and more coordinated public works and street services than you might receive in the unincorporated county. It depends on how the powers of the municipal corporation are wielded, and whether they're wielded appropriately and with a positive vision. So the council's, I think, been very successful in terms of making gains in that. And we have tried to do some business recruitment, and a lot of it has been, cold calling, and not necessarily the most effective thing. But what we tried to do is really tailor not so much business recruitment as to being responsive to the developers who do come to town, and trying to help them within the framework of city code and our responsibilities under state and federal law to help them realize their visions in the community. And so finally, on the left side of the graph, this was the question posed back in June of 2015, was if there was something that we wanted to do with cannabis policy, because we knew that the laws were changing and that there was a lot of investment going on, a lot of different opportunities. And so ultimately, the council opted to take a look at that and move forward with a measured but comprehensive approach. We have full planning regarding those programs. We instituted a track and trace program before the state of California, along with the county of Humboldt, before a lot of our neighboring jurisdictions. And we produced now we have ongoing revenue directly into the city as a result of those changes. So I just bring this up as kind of a primer on the past activities. Again, just covering kind of 2014 and 15 prior to cannabis, and then we all know exhaustively what has happened over the last few years in terms of moving that process forward. So with that, again, like the last item, what we're really looking for is to identify a study session where we can dive more in depth into this and to see if there is guidance from the council in terms of what you would like to see and just your general thoughts. That way we're a little bit more prepared as we go into the and schedule a study session so that it's a little bit more incorporative of the council's comments. So with that, Mayor Garnes, I'll return it back to the council.
Thank you, City Manager. I certainly agree that we need to have a study session regarding this too, because it is more in-depth than we probably can cover in a council meeting. I look forward to being able to do that. I will open it up to questions, and there was something else I was going to say, but it slipped my mind. So I will come back to that and go to Councilmember Johnson, please.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes. Yeah, I'm all for a study session, and I believe it would be worthwhile to either have our city attorney there or get a briefing from him in advance on just what exact encouragements the city can provide to developers who may potentially want to spend millions of dollars in Rio Dell. You know, what incentive can we legally bring to the table as an offering to help them make the decision that, hey, Rio Dell's a friendly place, and I want to spend, you know, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Strawn?
I'll look forward to a study session. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Woodall? Mayor Pro Tem Woodall?
Study session, and I think this paperwork that we have from 2015 can give us, you know, some ideas, because a lot of them are still relevant for us to look at and go forward with. And I think it's important that we do it soon, and I think we need to hit this because, you know, economic development can help implement all the rest of our goals that we have set up, you know, roads, everything else. And so I think we should do it as soon as we can and hit it as hard as possible.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Wilson?
Yeah, so obviously a study session would be good. Looking over the minutes from the last study session, one of the things that seemed to be a consensus of the council was through the city manager and several council members was to look into some kind of a consultant or a real estate developer was one term used that would be able to bring about businesses that would fit here. And again, from Mr. Johnson's comment, to see what's legal, because there was a question about it being done with on a what's the word I'm trying to my mind's going away here, on a rather than a salary, but on a compensation of what you accomplish. I can't think of the word anymore. I apologize, but anyway, having someone come in that has the knowledge to develop communities and to take what resources, I think there's big opportunity in the time that we're in with the COVID, that there's a big push to have things made in America, keep things local. If we could go out and find a source to recruit those types of businesses to come to the county or to the city to develop businesses that would keep things in the United States. And I would push for that, but I think the sooner we have a study session, it would be good. Thank you.
Thank you. And I agree with all the things that were said, and especially doing it as soon as possible, because we do have a lot of things that we're trying to do. And we also know that 3 years are full implementation of the salary schedule is going to come back and knock at us. So we need to get onto it as quickly as we can. So are there any public comments?
Currently, there are no hands raised.
Okay.
And no email comments.
Thank you. City Manager, do you have what you need from us?
I think so. And again, like the last item, we'll be in touch with the council to identify a time to hold the study session.
Awesome, thank you. And with that, we will move on to council reports and communications. Mayor Pro Tem Woodall.
Yes, we have a nuisance abatement committee meeting tomorrow at 3. I don't have the phone number to call in or the ID number, but if you're interested, call City Hall and they will give that to you if you want to listen to the nuisance abatement committee meeting.
Thank you.
And that's,
Is that all? I'm sorry.
yeah, I was just going to say for the public, all of us will have it, but for the public in case they want to call.
Thank you. I didn't mean to cut you off. Councilmember Strawn?
Yeah, thank you, Julie. I was going to bring that up too about nuisance. I have a hazmat meeting not until October now. And then HCOG I have Thursday, and I was looking over the minutes. It looks like the TAC committee declining the FAUs. They want to keep it as it is. So unfortunately, I think that's going to remain, and we're not going to be able to get more money, but I tried. And I wanted to make a statement regarding the paper headlines where I missed the deadline. I want to make it clear I didn't miss any deadlines. I made a conscious decision not to rerun for council. And also from my understanding that it'll just be Amanda, Frank, and Gordon. So I wanted to see if maybe, is it appropriate, can Amanda attend these session meetings? Would that be allowable, or I don't want to do anything wrong, but
I think
she's.
I think all the study sessions I think all of the meetings except for closed meetings are public meetings.
Oh, great. Well, perfect. Then I'm sure she'll be there, and that'll be perfect because her input and her knowledge should be definitely added to that. So excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue. Councilmember Johnson.
Mayor Garnes, Traffic Committee is going to be holding a virtual special meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So sounds like some of staff have got back-to-back meetings. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wilson.
One question on the Traffic Committee. Was I taken off of that?
Frank, it looks like you're still on it, according to information I received.
Because I don't believe I've heard anything at all about I was never contacted about a traffic meeting or a session.
You should have received an email, Frank. I suggested to Sabrina that she put a packet in the two council members' mailboxes. So if she didn't do that, she should have emailed you, but we can certainly get you a packet. I'll put one in your box in the morning if that's okay.
Well, I was in here yesterday and got my packet, but I didn't.
You didn't see it?
I didn't. It was empty. All I had was the agenda. Also, I'm at work, so at 2 o'clock I'm not going to be able to make it.
Okay.
I don't get up at 3:30, so I guess.
Okay.
A mute point. Put the packet in my box, but as far as attendance, count me out.
Okay.
Second, the question was on the public comment that we received tonight about the people behind DJs and all of the things that were mentioned in that. I've heard the people sleeping on the lawn behind DJs somewhere prior to this conversation, and I've had some emails that I probably won't. I don't know that they need to be made public, but they were probably sent to not be public about things that have been going on up in parts of Rio Dell. Some of those stem either the homeless or people that are living in that sort of a state. And I just wonder, do those go over to the nuisance committee? What can we do about the problems of DJs? So I don't know who that goes to. Anybody able to answer that question?
I can't. I don't know, Frank. I think that most things that are supposed to go to the nuisance committee go to them. I know that I've received communication that was also sent to both members of the nuisance committee. And I also shared the communication I got with the chief of police and with you and Councilmember Johnson. And so hopefully those things are going to be taken up with the nuisance committee tomorrow, because there's some pretty significant issues. So that's what I'm hoping is going to happen. But I think that, yes, they go to them. Julie or Sue, can you speak to that? Speak to whether or not you're getting these emails and if that's going to be taken up. Either of you? Both of you?
I don't know, but I will check into it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have it written down here.
And
to
make
bring
sure
it
that
up.
it's,
Not sure it's on the agenda, but we can certainly bring it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else, Councilmember Wilson?
No, that's all I have.
Thank you. I have been on all the county calls. Not the county calls, because the county stopped having calls, which is curious to me. As the numbers went up, that's when the county decided to stop having county calls. And I actually approached the OES Ryan Darby and asked him if they could resume them because of what's going on and because school's starting and all of those things. He said he would poll the members of the leadership and get back to me. I haven't heard from him, so I will try again. But thus far, there has been no county calls reinstated. I have done there's a campaign, please wear a mask, don't make us ask, campaign. That's a radio campaign that I was asked to do a minute thing for, and so I did that, and those will be, and I think it's throughout the county, and those will be aired on the radio for the next 3 months. So that's the Wear a Mask campaign. It's, I think, very important, just my opinion, of course, that we in the city staff that's outside of City Hall, when they're out wearing a mask, because we are trying to, at one point, Humboldt was pretty steady, but now Humboldt's on the rise. So I think that if we can show the community that we are buying into it, then maybe the community will buy into it. And the other thing I would like to have council members Johnson and Woodall, if there's any way that you can find it in yourselves to be on camera so that the constituents can see you, like the rest of us are on camera. We're on camera when we're in chambers. If you don't have the equipment, the city can supply the equipment. And if not, I would just ask that you explain to our constituents why you cannot be on camera, because I know that wanting to be in the chamber is the goal, but until we're in chamber, if we were in chamber, people would see you and you would be on camera. So I just think that it's only fair to constituents to be able to see us, and as we were speaking, as far as from transparency, the whole works. I just think that we should all be, I've looked at the supervisors, other cities, the United States Congress, the Senate, they can all be on camera. So if that's something that you can find within yourselves to do, it would really greatly be appreciated. And if you cannot, I would really appreciate if you could explain to the constituents why you cannot. You don't have to do it right now, but that's what I would really like to see if that could happen. It would be greatly appreciated. I cannot compel you to do it. I'm simply asking you to do it if you can find it within yourselves. And I think that that's all I have.
Mayor Garnes,
Yes.
it's disappointing to hear that the county is backed off on this reporting from where we were, but if there's some way you could convey that to our county government or whoever is in charge, as you mentioned, it's very disappointing that it's seeming like because things got a little worse that they've cut the general public out of the information regarding the COVID situation, but particularly how many people are in the hospitals that remain in the hospital. It's been said it was a violation of privacy. We're not asking who, what gender they are, what race they are, how old they are, where they live. Just are there two people go in over a period of time, but how many remain there? Is there now 19 people in there that have gone in, or there's one?
Right.
I don't think
absolutely.
that's a violation of anybody's privacy to know that, and I'd appreciate it from our county government to give us that information.
Thank you. I will definitely convey that. And so I think that's all that I have. If everyone's good, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved by Johnson.
Thank you. Is there a second? I second it. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Good night, everybody. Thank you.